Yeah. Look, first practice after day off. I thought we started a little sluggish today, but I thought we picked it up as the practice went along. So, was pleased with the way that it ended. Um, it's we got one more install really to basically get pretty much everything in prior to the first game. All the different situational type stuff. We had short yardage today. We'll hit goal line tomorrow, and so we'll have everything in by the time we get to Arizona for the preseason game.
That's everything in, as in for not just for the first game, but that's
that's the nuts and bolts of everything that we're doing from a situational standpoint. Everything we're doing from a schematic standpoint. We really have everything, and now there'll be a few tweaks and things as you go throughout the season, but the foundation for what we want to do in each situation of the game will be in after we get through the walkthrough portion of practice tomorrow.
Jake is back today. Any update on this procedure?
Yeah, look, I think everything went well. As as far as I know. No, I guess not really much of an update other than they feel like they accomplished what they needed to get accomplished, and I don't see there being really any limitations for the player moving forward.
Have you made any decisions yet on starters playing Saturday, or get closer to that?
I won't say anything to anybody publicly until I get a chance to talk to the team in terms of what we're going to do. So we'll just keep that under wraps for right now. I've not discussed that at all with our players, and so we'll kind of wait and talk to the players first before we make any sort of an announcement.
I don't know why you wanted to bring in Justin Simmons for a free agent this year.
Well, look, this is a guy that's been a good player in our league for a long time. He's a player that's shown an interest in us. We've got some connections with him in terms of guys on our staff that have worked with him, guys that have played with him. And so, look, I think that it's exactly what it is. It's a visit. He's coming in, and we'll talk about how we would see him, what type of vision that we would have for him, and then if what we're looking for and what he's looking for, if those things match up, then we'll see if it goes further than that.
Dennis, is that more about him than what you've seen at the safety position in camp?
Yeah, look, as always, you're always looking for areas that you think you can improve your football team. I don't think that's necessarily a position that I'm saying, man, we got to go out and actively find somebody. I think it's more of a situation where there's a really good player that's on the street, and this is a player that there's been some communication with, with the player or his agency, and so I think we're at a point now where I think both sides feel comfortable with him coming in and visiting, and we'll see where it goes from there.
He's arriving late, like it hasn't happened yet. It's too
He's coming in at some point. I don't know. I don't have those details right now.
Is that just a visit or like a workout as well? Or?
Just a visit.
How long have those conversations been going on?
I don't know exactly. Probably sometime in the spring there was a little bit of back and forth. We and he were not, probably, on the same page in terms of what we were willing to do or what he's looking for. I think it's just getting closer to the season. I think we're probably a little closer on both sides, and so I think that's why you bring the player in. You have a chance to sit down and visit with him and see if things work out. So that's really what it is.
When you're talking about adding a veteran at this
Sorry, the spring as in the initial, like when free agency, I guess.
No, I don't think this was something that took place, you know, in the initial free
So later.
agency. I think this was probably kind of after the free agency wave had gone through, really probably even after the draft. I can't remember the exact, you know, timing of it, but you know, I think it really started probably with, you know, Joe and Marcus, both those guys having familiarity with the player, you know, and so we've kind of just monitored the situation, and we've gotten to the point now where we feel like, you know, we bring him in, we have a chance to sit down and visit with him, and if things work out, great.
Are you so surprised he's still available?
I
agree.
Look, I mean, you know, I think he's a good player. I think he's been a good player in our league, and so, but, you know, I can't speak to, you know, the reasons why, you know, he's still available, really, but I know we think he's a good player, and we're interested in, you know, having him out and visiting with him.
You've referenced it a couple times, but you know, when you're adding a veteran player at this stage, it has to be helpful to know that, you know, Marcus and Joe have that connection. Does that make it easier in terms of, you know, adding a new person to the locker room?
Yeah, look, I mean, look, you never know what you're getting until they actually get here, you know, and so when you have somebody that's been in the meeting room with a player, whether it be a player or a coach, but somebody that's been in the meeting room, been on the practice field, been through the games, you know, to where you have intimate knowledge of how the player responds in different situations, what type of teammate is he going to fit into the culture that we have here? Like, all those different things are things that you don't really know unless you have, you know, that knowledge from, you know, being in the building. And so, yeah, I think having those guys know the player and having worked with him before would make a transition easier.
Avery Johnson talking to the team today. Avery.
Say that again?
Avery Johnson.
Avery's in for I think today, and I think maybe he takes off tomorrow. But yeah, he'll be in and kind of checking some things out, and probably have him visit with the squad this afternoon.
Has anyone sorry.
Okay, you go.
Has anyone caught your eye at safety? Like, you know, the rotation that you have going with Howden, Abrams.
Yeah,
Harris?
look, I don't think we're set at that position opposite of Tyron. I mean, I think, you know, we got several guys that are competing. All of them have things that they do well. All of them have things that they have to improve on. And so, yeah, I think we're just going to let that play out as the preseason plays out. And I'm not in any hurry to make a determination of, you know, where we're at there.
Kind of related to that, like with the number of the guys, like kind of rotating some guys in at different spots for first team or whatever it is. Like, when do you get to the point where you kind of want to have that set? Is it after the preseason, or?
Well, whenever I feel like that it's set in my mind that this is the guy that's earned the job, and I'm not at that spot right now.
Dennis, I'm sure the players are excited about Saturday. Are you kind of, you can look at the calendar, it's a few days late, you get kind of excited to see, I know you said you want to see them when the noise and the lights come on. Are you getting fired up for Saturday?
I think, you know, it's why you go through all these things that we go through, not necessarily for preseason games, but why you spend all this time practicing, meeting time. All these things are to go and play the game, you know, and so, you know, these games aren't going to count in terms of, you know, our record, but I think they matter. I think they're important for a lot of people. I think they're important for us as a coaching staff with a lot of new pieces on offense. You know, being able to get into those game situations, understand how the communication's going to operate, how the communication from the box down to the field to the players, the communication to the quarterback on the field. Like, all those are things, getting our substitutions on and off. Those are all things that I think, you know, are important things for us to get kind of, you know, ironed out over the course of the next 3 games in the preseason, so that those don't become issues, as we get into the regular season. So yeah, I think we're all kind of excited about playing games.
What did Mason Tipton leave with?
Hamstring.
Yeah, with Charlie Smith, like, is there any possible way to like simulate actual like game pressure and like, is there anything
Yeah.
you can do to be comfortable with that?
Well, put him in these games, you know. So, look, I'm hopeful that we're going to be able to get him in these games and let him kick some, you know, in a NFL football game and see how he responds. Yeah, there's certain things that we could do, you know, throughout the course of practice to try to simulate as best we can. But I don't think anything can simulate that environment until you're actually in that environment, you know. So I'm interested to see, you know, how he does when we get into these preseason games, because he's talented, you know, and I think he's improved since we first got him.
Both Justin Simmons and Tyron Matthew are probably what you would consider more deep safeties. I mean, if you're both on the roster, like, are they interchangeable? Do they have varied skill sets?
Well, look, I mean, I think if we went down that road, I think we'd find ways to utilize those players. I think that's a strength of what we do, is we find out what guys do really well. We put them in those situations to do that. We'll figure it out if that's the case. All right.
With Rashid Shaheed not having returned yet, is that indicative of something, or is that still precaution?
Yeah, I don't think it's indicative of anything. I think it's probably more still, you know, precautionary type deal. And yet, he's dealing with soft tissue injury. So I think all these guys are going through that rehab process. And, you know, as soon as we feel like we can safely put them back out on the field and we're not really, you know, putting them in an at-risk situation to have a re-injury, I think that's kind of the plan.
So it's a similar case with Paulson Adebo. You had mentioned he even tried to go one day and then has ended up missing like a week since then. He didn't have like a
Yeah, I don't think we're at a week, to be honest with you. I mean, I'd say it's probably been about 2 practices, and don't quote me on that either. But look, he had a little bit of soreness. Saw the trainers. We tried to wrap it, tape it. Tried to go. Wasn't feeling great. And so he's dealing with a soft tissue injuries. These things take a little bit of time. But I don't think any of these are going to be things that, you know, really are going to cost us any regular season time. So,
because of your corner situation, like, is that a spot specifically, like on Saturday, they could play a ton of snaps just because of the guys who are?
Yeah, look, I think there's a lot of guys who are going to play a lot of snaps, you know, and there's some guys that need to play a lot of snaps, so we can get a good evaluation of them. So we'll take whatever the number we got, and we'll go play and put a good product out there for the first preseason game. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Coach.